This is another one of those videos that I originally had no intention of making, but the absolute hysteria and utter madness of the left just cannot be stopped. They cannot restrain themselves at all, and especially over Brett Kavanaugh. My god, they were protesting in front of the Supreme Court before Trump even picked his nominee. They were standing with blank signs just waiting for whoever Trump was gonna pick so they can fill their name in, before he even picked his nominee. It simply does not matter to these people. Their love and tolerance has no bounds. ABC News was already calling the Supreme Court nominee controversial before they even knew who it was gonna be. The Women's March had already pre-planned their press statement and forgot to add the name of the actual nominee before releasing it. And apparently this happened twice somewhere else. I guess they thought Amy Barrett was gonna be selected. And people still wonder why no one trusts the media. Now personally, I had hoped that Amy Barrett would have been the nominee. Her record on the court and her originalist take on the Constitution absolutely fit the bill for me. And it doesn't hurt that she'd be a definite vote to overturn Roe v. Wade if the situation came up. Because Roe v. Wade is one of the worst decisions ever made and has absolutely no constitutional grounding. Show me where in the Constitution it says that it's okay to kill babies. Yeah, no. In my opinion, Trump should have just gone for it and nominated her, because we know the left would have gone batshit crazy anyways. So it's not like it would have hurt him in any way. And especially since it would have resulted in the left fervently attacking a 46-year-old woman with 7 children who is a staunch Roman Catholic. It would have done nothing but help motivate Trump's voting base. Especially now since Democrats went from abortions being safe, legal, and rare to full-fledged we love abortions and God bless abortions. Just take it from Michelle Wolf.
Women, if you need an abortion, get one! If you want an abortion, get one! God bless abortions and God bless America!
Yeah. Even back in the day, Democrats would acknowledge that an abortion is not a pretty process or a decision to be celebrated like this moron, because everyone pretty much subconsciously acknowledges that what you are killing is a human being. But God bless abortions! Yay! I'd show pictures of what an abortion actually looks like, but that might get my video taken down again by the YouTube overlords. So I'll just tell you to go and look at pictures of what an abortion actually looks like. And I don't mean the diagrams. Here's the diagram. They're basically ripping off each limb of the baby and then suck its brains out. I'm talking about the aftermath photos of an abortion. There is a literal shriveled up dead baby on the operating board. You know damn well that's a human being. Oh, and the term for this abortion process is called a suction abortion. Yeah. Hooray! Oh, and if anyone's gonna start citing precedent as why Roe v. Wade should be upheld, let me just remind you that Dred Scott v. Sanford was precedent. Plessy v. Ferguson was precedent. For over 50 years! These two cases are some of the worst rulings that the Supreme Court has ever made, so precedent means nothing. Overturn this garbage and return the jurisdiction of making decisions on abortions back to the states. You do not have a right to kill babies in the Constitution. This is not your body, your rights. This is the body and rights of the person growing inside of you. Now, the problems I have with Kavanaugh come from the fact that he doesn't seem to think that forcing Americans to pay for Obamacare is illegal, and classified it as a tax that could fit comfortably within Congress's taxing clause power, which pretty much allowed Chief Justice Roberts to use that as a defense for forcing Americans to pay for Obamacare. It's just a tax. No, it's not. But then apparently he criticized Roberts' ruling on Obamacare, so this one's kind of up in the air. Also, for some reason, he seems to think that it's in the government's interest to provide for contraceptive coverage. Just go buy a condom or control yourself. What business does the government have in providing these things? Also, he's given some iffy remarks with regards to Roe vs. Wade, where the language he used can't be strictly interpreted in one way or the other. And he also used the precedent statement in his decision on that case, which again, means nothing. He also used the precedent statement in his nomination speech. But he did say that the government has permissible interests in favoring fetal life, so there could be a good outcome here. And he was apparently praised by another judge on the DC Circuit Court who is staunchly against Roe v. Wade. It's just that his writings could stand to be a little more clear and decisive in taking certain stances. They're too narrow in scope most of the time, but it might not be all that bad. It just would have unleashed so much more dragon energy if Trump went all the way and nominated Amy Barrett. But I'll accept Brett. Now, since his nomination, the left has lost their minds.
He is a dangerous man who will endanger our fundamental freedom. We won't stand for any nominee, no Brett Kavanaugh, that wants to take away our constitutional rights.
Hell no on Kavanaugh! Hell no on Kavanaugh!
their cognitive functions are reverting to adolescence, where now it seems as though they don't have much to attack Brett with other than him having a fondness for baseball, drinking beer, and using credit cards. Oh, and did you know his name is Brett? No, I'm not kidding. They also don't like him because his name is Brett.
Now, I don't know much about Kavanaugh, but I'm skeptical because his name is Brett. That sounds less like a Supreme Court justice and more like a waiter at Ruby Tuesdays. Hey, everybody, I'm Brett. I'll be your Supreme Court justice tonight. Before you sit down, let me just clear away these rights for you.
Yep, he shouldn't be a Supreme Court judge because his name is Brett. I mean, come on, guys. Brett? What? Oh, and according to Stephen Colbert, you're just some kind of lowlife if you work at Ruby Tuesdays. So much for appealing to the working class, guys. Great messaging. I also find it funny that a bunch of Yale students, staff members, and some alumni decided to write the Dean Heather Gerken an angry letter of disapproval because the university had the temerity to praise the accomplishments of one of their former students. The press release's focus on the nominee's professionalism, pedigree, and service to Yale Law School obscures the true stakes of his nomination and raises a disturbing question. Is there nothing more important to Yale Law School than its proximity to power and prestige? They go on to talk about the grave concerns they have that Brett will consistently prioritize the beliefs of third parties over the oppressed. And hey, they even snuck in a little "people will die" in there. Remember the last video where I talked about the politics of, oh my god, everyone is going to die, this is the end of the world, hysteria, hysteria, Hitler, Hitler, Hitler? Well, here's some more. People will die if he's confirmed. We hope you agree your sacrifice would be worth it. Why can't the left just stop bitching and moaning? Guys, what the hell is the dean of the law school going to do about the nomination of Brett Kavanaugh? You morons realize that only the Senate can do anything about this, right? This is so absurd. Like the only thing Yale was doing with their press release was congratulating Brett on his accomplishments and advertising to the world just how many Supreme Court judges Yale Law School is able to produce. That's it. Can you people calm your tits? Just calm down. Have some juice or something. Honestly, all this insanity has made me love Brett Kavanaugh even more. Progressives should keep a list of the names of the sellouts at Yale and elsewhere who are right now trying to smooth the path for the overturning of Roe and gutting of the New Deal. They should be unwelcome in future Democratic administrations. For the love of God, do these people have any sense of rationality? Oh, and hey, here's some more hysteria from former Virginia Governor Terry McAuliffe. The nomination of Judge Brett Kavanaugh will threaten the lives of millions of Americans for decades to come and will morph our Supreme Court into the political arm of the right-wing Republican Party. Here's some more from the Women's March. Trump's announcement today is a death sentence for thousands of women in the United States. Everyone is going to die. This is the end of the world. Hysteria, hysteria. A death sentence. Please, you people are insane. Utterly insane. And people think I'm making strawmans against the left in my videos. Do you see your own party? Are you blind? If you're not one of these crazy people, you are the very small minority in the party. These are all major Democratic figures who are losing their minds. You need to get these crazy people out of your party because they are doing nothing but pushing themselves further and further left. Look at these statistics. Democrats have consistently been moving further and further left on nearly every issue. The right has remained relatively static over the last 25 years, but the left just keeps moving further and further left. I'll link this report in the description. I think it's worth the check out. Now back to some more Democratic insanity. Forget abortion or same-sex marriage. Contraception could be banned under Justice Kavanaugh. For the love of God, man, I just quoted Kavanaugh saying it was in the government's interest to be providing contraceptive coverage. A vote for Justice Kavanaugh is a vote to allow 5 men on the Supreme Court to overturn Roe v. Wade, criminalize abortion in America, and roll back the progress we've made to help more women and girls access the basic health care they need. Yeah, here you get some more intersectional political speak. Woman, it was 7 men who ruled in favor of Roe v. Wade to begin with. Jesus Christ, enough with the patriarchy talk. It was a bunch of men in Wyoming who passed the first women's suffrage legislation. It was a bunch of men in Congress who passed the 19th Amendment. Would you cut it with the men talk? Also, if Roe v. Wade is overturned by the Supreme Court and goes back to the states, do you seriously think a state like California or Massachusetts is going to ban abortion? Really? You know, one of the differences between the left and everyone else is how they view the very being of individuals. People on the right are more likely to think that you're just stupid or a dolt, but people on the left are more likely to think that you're a deeply evil human being with dark ambitions and nefarious motivations. They think that they're so right in their policies and their agendas that anyone who disagrees with them must be evil. They have to be evil. What else can they be if they don't agree with our vision? Our vision is so good, so morally superior, that if they don't agree, then their intentions are bad and their soul is corrupt and filled with pure evil. They can't just disagree with you and leave it at that. Their way is so pure and so superior that anyone who doesn't think like them isn't even on the same moral playing field. So their arguments aren't even worth giving any credence to. They're benighted, and their real motivations are those of evil, greed, and absolute wickedness. Why do you think the left is always demonizing the right as being the minions of Hitler, or that they just hate the gays, blacks, Muslims, transvestites, immigrants, the poor, everyone, and that they secretly want to see all these people in concentration camps because that must be what Mike Pence's secret intentions truly are? I mean conversion camps. Yeah, conversion camps, not concentration camps. But if you ask survivors of conversion therapy about their experiences, I'm not sure how far off I really was. So, not concentration camps, but still totally concentration camps. Oh, and Mike Pence is still a homophobe. Yeah, that must be it. They think that the sole purpose in life for people on the right is to live in unfettered avarice. That's why they support businesses, because they love exploiting people, because they're so evil and greedy. They don't care about the poor, they're evil. If they did care, then they'd be doing what we want. It's not that you just agree with Trump's agenda because you're not a fan of Hillary's policies. You agree with Trump because you're a deplorable human being. Your very humanity is brought into question, and the right just says, you're stupid. And this isn't even my own thesis or a recent phenomenon. People have been talking about this now for decades. This is essentially what we call virtue signaling now. This goes back farther than a decade ago, before Larry Kramer was calling Ronald Reagan worse than Hitler because Reagan didn't do anything about the AIDS crisis. This goes back farther than the Bush era, which I already showed that montage in the previous video. This goes back further than the late 1980s, when French philosopher Jean-Francois Revel wrote in his book The Flight from Truth about being treated by his peers as having only residual traces of Homo sapiens. This goes back further than the 1960s, when dirtbag Gore Vidal was calling William F. Buckley, who fought for the Allies, a crypto-Nazi.
I know you don't care.
As far as I'm concerned, the only sort of pro-crypto-Nazi I can think of is yourself. Failing that, I would only say that we can't have
Now listen, you
the right of
stop
assembly.
calling me a crypto-Nazi.
Let's stop calling names.
you in
and
your
let's get-
goddamn face, and you'll stay plastered.
Gentlemen, let's
This goes back further to the beginning of the 20th century, when the Bolsheviks were perfectly willing to kill anyone who didn't agree with their good and compassionate vision for the world. And this goes back further still to the fall of the Roman Empire, when the leaders of that time absolutely refused to listen to anything anyone had to say and stayed on their path of absolute catastrophe. People in the Roman days knew Rome was headed for collapse, but the leaders just could not care because their vision was better. We have such a hard separation in our visions of the world, and the left's vision is so grand and glorious that we get these insane reactions out of them. There has always been this constant attitude within people of feeling as though that they are the only ones who truly know the way, that they are the only ones who can lead this world with their deep intellect, and that they're absolutely morally virtuous in their beliefs and their proposed solutions. And this virtue is translated into how the government is run, what social policies to implement, how others are treated, and how arguments are formed or even ignored. Hard evidence right in front of your face can be completely ignored if the vision is better than reality. And while they pursue these goals for society based on their glorious virtue, they're completely bereft of their own arrogance and the acerbity of their moral preening. But it doesn't matter, because they're exalted. We're so much smarter than you with our policies and solutions, and we're going to implement them and force them on you through government fiat. If you don't like it, you're in our way and you're probably evil. If they don't characterize Republicans like this, or have the realization that Republicans actually do care about certain topics as much as they do, and just don't behave in similar fashion as them, then they have to actually look at the arguments presented and consider a way other than their vision of what may work. It's the difference between William F. Buckley writing an article titled On Experiencing Gore Vidal, where he apologizes for calling him a queer in anger, and Gore Vidal writing an article back titled A Distasteful Encounter with William F. Buckley, where he responds by calling Buckley a racist, anti-black, anti-Semitic, and a pro-crypto Nazi that's fascist-minded. This is from 1969. They have been pulling this crap for decades. It's a difference in attitude and vision for the world that produces these radical and unhinged backlashes from people on the left. Because they're sure they're in the right and doing the ultimate good. They cannot be wrong, and they're going to let you know how right they are. That's why the Supreme Court is so important to them, because this is the medium by which they can implement their vision on the rest of society, and implement things not based on the context of the Constitution and the original meaning and context of the words written, but based on whatever they feel like, and whatever new trend they want to follow, and however they want to interpret the Constitution. And they'll anoint the special power to 9 unelected godlike figures to carry out their bidding, because they're so much smarter than us. This is why Democrats are more likely to not be proud of being an American, especially after Trump was elected, because their vision of hope and change came crashing down and their self-righteous preening got a serious slap in the face by reality. By and large, their vision for the country is not founded in deep-seated American principles, but whatever the hell they want, and they will make these things happen by whatever means possible. And so long as they can't force the vision of the world on you, they're pissed off. Maxwell Perkins wrote in the 20th century that, "One of my deepest convictions is that the terrible harms that are done in this world are not done by deliberately evil people, who are not numerous and are soon found out. They are done by the good, by those who are so sure they are good that they are sure that God is with them. Nothing can stop them, for they are certain they are right." This type of attitude is such a common historical occurrence that it's bordering on being a social science. Here are some good books that touch on the subject. This is a much deeper concept than what I've just laid out. We'll end up with another hour-long video if I go over this any longer. But one of the easiest ways to spot this kind of behavior is with the mainstream media. The next time you watch a conservative being interviewed by someone in the media, wait and see how long it takes for the interviewer to ask something that brings into question the conservative's very motivations and levels of compassion. But anyways, the main thing to take away from the insanity surrounding the Supreme Court is, if you have credit card debt, work at Ruby Tuesday, drank beer in college, are Catholic, and are named Brett, you are officially a threat to America and the Democrats will destroy you. This has been Political Juice. Thanks for watching.